بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد ونعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Inshallah, as we promised today, inshallah we'll be commencing Imam Bukhari's book Al-ADAB-UL-MUFRAD. If the brothers could just come a little closer, inshallah. Or the people who have chairs, just come closer, inshallah.
The people who don't have, right?
Yeah. So, before we begin the actual book, I want to remind everyone that we actually purchased many copies of the book Al-ADAB-UL-MUFRAD, so that everyone could participate in actually looking at the Hadith as we study it. And for those who are not familiar with Arabic, the English is also in the book written there, so that everyone can benefit from the Hadith. How about this one? So last week, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, last week as an introduction, we spoke about the life of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala. And alhamdulillah, this was very beneficial as we all got acquainted with who the individual was that we are going to be benefiting from, and who benefited the ummah with so much khair. But before we actually start this book, there is one more muqaddama and introduction that we need to discuss, which is very important, which is when we discuss a hadith, there are some terms that all of us have heard, and unfortunately, because we haven't studied usul al-hadith or ulum al-hadith, meaning the science of hadith and the principles of hadith, that we don't know what these terms mean. So these terms, which are actually used by scholars and professionals in this field, we begin to use them unknowingly what they mean. One of the primary differences we will find in this book, Adab-ul-Mufrad, which we are studying, besides the fact that the topic will be different from that which Imam Bukhari wrote about in his book Al-Jami al-Sahih, besides that, we will find that the caliber of hadith in Adab-ul-Mufrad are sometimes lower caliber. So this is the first difference I want everyone to note down, that the caliber of hadith are somewhat lower. What do I mean by that? We're going to digress into this very quickly. Imam Bukhari set a standard, as we spoke about last week, that he set a very strict standard when it came to asma' al-rijal, when it came to jarh wa ta'dil, meaning who he would accept a hadith from and who he would not accept a hadith from. He set a very strict standard. Now, we have to understand that he left that standard inside Jami al-Sahih, which is the book we call Al-Bukhari. Jami al-Sahih is Al-Bukhari. So that standard is inside that book. But when it came to other books that he wrote, he found it necessary to include hadith which were not at that standard. So, we'll see when we study Adab-ul-Mufrad, there will be many hadith which the muhaddithin have categorized as da'if, weak, as we translate it, weak. The question that we all should be asking us is, this is the point we want to ask: why did Imam Bukhari narrate these hadith which are da'if? Why did Imam Bukhari narrate these hadith which are weak? Or da'if, the term is da'if. The reason is very intricate, but I'm going to simplify it as much as I can. The categorizing of a hadith was done to know when and where a hadith could be used for a certain science or a certain application. Let me rephrase that again. The categorizing of hadith meaning this is a mutawatir hadith, meaning a very famous hadith, or this is a sahih hadith, or this is a hasan hadith, or this is da'if hadith. These categorizations, this was done, why? This was only done so that we know which hadith could be used for what thing. I'll give you an example. The Quran is mutawatir. The term is mutawatir. Mutawatir means that there are so many people narrating it, it's impossible for this thing to be a lie from the first day until the day that we have it in front of us today. This is the brief meaning of mutawatir. Now, there are some qira'at. For those of us who have some knowledge of qira'at, there are different qira'at of Quran. Maliki yawmiddin, Maliki yawmiddin. For example, there are different qira'at. According to Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala an, one of the mufassir of Quran, there is a very, very sound hadith, sahih hadith, where he says that the mu'awwidhatayn are not part of Quran, they are a dua. Now the standard of this hadith is very strong. But why won't this hadith be applicable? The reason it's not applicable is because a sound hadith will never be compared to something which is mutawatir. The Quran is mutawatir and hadith is khabar wahid. They will never go against each other. So what I'm trying to explain very briefly without going into too much technicality is that Imam Bukhari brought da'if hadith because when it comes to virtuous deeds, da'if hadith are acceptable. Imam Bukhari, Imam Nawawi rahimahullah says very clearly that in fada'il means good actions, virtues, benefits. Da'if hadith are acceptable. And there is ijma'. The whole group of scholars are all agreed that whenever da'if hadith is there and it's talking about something virtuous, it's acceptable. But that same hadith, if we are going to bring that into something where there's a ruling that this thing is now wajib, this thing is fard, we will not accept that hadith in that category. Does everyone understand the actual concept of this categorizing of the hadith? So in this book, Imam Bukhari will mention many ahadith that are not at the same standard as Bukhari. The reason is because those hadith are to be acted upon also. So now when we see books, there are certain books which are written on fada'il, for example. And right away, brothers will say, no, this hadith is da'if, this hadith is da'if. But the consensus amongst the muhaddiseen is that for fada'il, for something virtuous, it's totally acceptable. So once we understand that this word da'if, it does not mean unacceptable or weak. It means it's not acceptable in this category, but it will be acceptable in this category. So I wanted to touch upon this very quickly. And also we have to understand one more thing. And this relates to the question that a sister asked last week regarding the chain of narrators. And because we talked about this, and who knows when the next time we'll get a chance to talk about it, it's important that we discuss it right now before we actually get into the book. She asked the question that, what are the conditions for a rawi, a narrator of hadith? The question was, what are the conditions for a narrator of hadith to be acceptable? If you remember, I told a story that once Imam Bukhari was traveling to learn a hadith from someone, and he did not accept that hadith. Does anyone remember why?
About the horse?
Yes, the incident where the animal, he was going to feed the animal and he was pretending to have food for the animal. And when Imam Bukhari saw he was tricking the animal, he said, I won't accept hadith from this person. What this shows us, and the usuliyin of hadith have told us, and I don't want to get too technical because everyone will get bored. As things get very technical, then obviously it's somewhat boring. But it's very interesting for those who want to understand the depths of hadith. That according to Imam Bukhari, that particular person was not at his standard. But maybe according to Imam Muslim, that person was acceptable. Or maybe according to Imam Tirmidhi rahimahullah ta'ala, that same person was acceptable. What does this lead us to the conclusion? The conclusion is this, that jarh wa ta'deel. Jarh wa ta'deel. What is jarh wa ta'deel? Is when we say a person is weak or strong in hadith. Jarh and ta'deel is mukhtalif fi. It's something which every scholar had a difference of opinion in. So, when we say this person is da'if, if I bring a hadith to you, and I say, yes, in this person, Fulan's name, this person is da'if. Your next question should be, according to who? Is there a Quran ayah that says he's da'if? Did the Prophet say he's da'if? So according to who? Because maybe according to him, he's da'if. But maybe there's 20, 30 other great scholars of his time that said, no, he's strong. And what he's referring to is when he got old, he started to forget things. So he's referring to that point of his age when he became weaker. It's a very complex science. It's not something we should just go into and this is da'if, this is strong, this is a very deep science. So now actually that was just something that was connected to last week. Now actually I want to discuss, what is this book talking to us about? What will we learn in this book? The name of the book is ADAB-UL-MUFRAD. What is adab? As the title of the book says, manners in Islam. Adab that we learn from the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Adab is what the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam did in any particular situation. As the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us, "Adabani Rabbi fa ahsana ta'dibi," that my Lord taught me adab, and He taught me the most perfect adab. So what the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to tell us and teach us, as He told us He is like a father to us, He will tell us how to do things in every single aspect of our lives. Whether it be walking, whether it be talking, whether it be how we deal with children, whether it be how we deal with our parents, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to give us directions on how to live every aspect of our lives. Even so much so that the mushrikeen came to Salman Farsi rahimahullah radiyallahu ta'ala an, and they asked him, does your Nabi teach you everything? Hatta al-khara? That he teaches you everything? Even how to use the bathroom? They figured that this was not the status of a prophet. A prophet came to teach you about Jannah. A prophet came to teach you about hell. A prophet came to teach you about Risala, about the books of Allah. These things. Why is he teaching you how to use the washroom? So then the Rasul ﷺ said, no, I am here to complete. بُعِثْتُ, I was sent لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, that I was sent to perfect your manners. So what happens today? What happens today is, if we look at this hadith, Rasul ﷺ said, "Utammima," to complete. Utammim means to complete something. You can only complete something when it's already in existence. If it's not there before, you won't say, I'm going to complete that thing. You're going to start something. So Rasulullah ﷺ in this hadith says, "Bu'ithtu li'utammima." See, what happens today is, today we see people around us that have good manners. They may smile, say thank you for buying that thing, thank you for this. They have these manners. The Rasul ﷺ is in this hadith indicating that yes, manners do exist amongst the people. Yes, people even without Islam do have manners. But when you follow the teachings of Rasulullah ﷺ, your akhlaq will be tamam, utammim. The actions of Rasulullah ﷺ will complete the manners, to complete the akhlaq. So in Arabic we have two terms. We have adab and ikhlaq. Adab is a general term. Meaning, what do we do in certain situations? Adab is a general term. What do we do in certain situations? Akhlaq refers to the natural disposition of a person, how that person is inside. This word akhlaq comes from another word, khuluq or khilqah. And we all know that the Rasul ﷺ taught a dua that when we look in the mirror, we say, Allahumma anta hasanta khalqi fahassin khuluqi. 2 words. Let's look at this very closely. Anta hasanta khalqi. You have made my figure beautiful. Fahassin khuluqi. So, oh Allah, make my khuluq beautiful. Akhlaq is based off the khuluq of a person. So if the inside of the person is pure and he's a truthful person, then that will show in his akhlaq. That will show in his akhlaq. So what we have to do is we have to try our best to perfect our khuluq. We have to bring these adab that we will read in ADAB-UL-MUFRAD. We have to bring these adab and try to actually concoct them in ourselves, and then they will show out in our everyday action. But the question may be, everyone may be asking, okay, what's the big deal? Why are we focusing so much on adab? Why do we have to put so much concentration on adab? This is emphasized in a saying. Abdullah ibn Mubarak radiyallahu ta'ala anhu is a great tabi'i. He says, Man tahawana bil adabi, whoever is lazy and gives up adab, then uqiba bihirman sunan, then the punishment which will result in his life, he will be deprived of doing the sunnahs of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let me explain it in a different way. One of the scholars said, let's imagine that a person, he has a kingdom, and closest to him he has beautiful castles and houses made of gold, and outside of that he has houses made of silver. Outside of that he has houses made of brick or iron. Outside of that, on the 4th level, he has the houses which are made of brick, and beyond that are the houses made of straw. If this person who is this king, the ruler of this area, if he is particular even about taking care of the houses on the outskirt made of straw, will anything happen to the houses made of brick? No, because he's even particular about those. But if he's not particular about the houses made of straw, what will happen is now he may be in jeopardy of losing those houses made of brick. So the ulama say that the house of gold is your yaqeen in your heart. The house of gold is the yaqeen, that feeling that I know this deen to be haqq. This deen is haqq min Allah, yaqeen. The houses of silver are sincerity, when we do something only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The houses of brick are the fara'id, of iron are the fara'ids, those things that we have to do. The houses of brick, the sunan, and the straw are the adab. What happens is when we give up the adab, then the next thing we lose are the sunan. And then a person says, okay, I'm not going to pray awabin 6 rakats after maghrib, I'll just pray my sunan. The next level that shaitan brings them, shaitan will never come and say to us, don't pray salat al-maghrib. No, don't do that. Because right away we would say, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. No, I have to pray maghrib. No, shaitan takes us very slowly. First, the person gives no care for the adab like awabin. He doesn't care about the awabin anymore. So what happens next? Shaitan will say, okay, you didn't pray your sunnah today after maghrib? La ba'sa. It's okay. It's only sunnah. It's only sunnah. When we hear ourselves saying it's only sunnah, we're in jeopardy. What are we in jeopardy of now? Losing the fara'id. The next thing you know, our maghrib is even becoming qadha. So by protecting these adab, we protect the sunan. By protecting these sunan, we protect the fara'id. So all these adab are what give our deen beauty. And if we bring these into our lives, we will see that the life of the Rasulullah ﷺ is coming before us, right in our own eyes. And we'll see the benefits of that in our everyday actions. So we have to understand that there are 4 categories in the deen. There are 4 types of actions within the deen. The first is aqaid. Aqaid is the beliefs. Aqaid are the beliefs. The second is ibadat. Ibadat refers to those things, those types of worships. The third is mu'amalat. Mu'amalat are how we deal with people, or how we do business transactions and whatnot. The fourth are called adab. Adab, which we will be studying. Now, the interesting thing is, adab in itself has 3 types of adab. Adab ma'allah, 3 types of adab. Adab ma'allah, number 1, how we have adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Adab ma'al rasul, our adab with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And after that is our adab with the makhluk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this, if we look at adab ma'allah, what is adab ma'allah? What does this mean to have adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If we look in Surah Kahf, we know the story of Khidr and Musa alayhi salam. So we remember that Khidr did 3 things. What were they?
The ship.
The ship, the young one. He killed the boy. He fixed the wall. Now in the Quran, when he's explaining to Musa what he did, he's justifying what he did. What did he say regarding the boy? Does anyone? فَأَرَدَنَا أَن يُبَدِّلَهُمَا. So what is the wording he's saying? He's saying أَرَدَنَا, that we wanted to change him for something khair. Who's we? He's referring to him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hukm, order. Now the next one was breaking the ship. What was the response he said? فَأَرَدْتُ أن, I want the Arabic. I need the Arabic. فَأَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَعِيبَهَا, I wanted to cause a defect in it. When he's referring to khair, he used the term na, me and Allah. When he's referring to a defect, an a'ibaha, he says aradtu, I did it. He does not want to attribute evil or something bad to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very intricate thing, but this is adab ma Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I hope we all understood the example. فَأَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَعِيبَهَا, I wanted to cause a defect in it. So this is adab ma Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And nowadays you'll hear people asking all types of questions about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these questions, when you hear them, you think that how could this person be asking this question about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Yes, this is there, but as the dua of the Rasulullah says, وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ, that we do not attribute evil to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is adab ma Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to have adab ma Allah. The next is adab, manners with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the next level, the level under that, is to have adab with all of the people, all of mankind. So this book we will read will mainly discuss the adab in the husnul khuluq with creation, with mankind. So this was just preliminary so that we understand what is adab. Adab is manners, and the virtues of bringing good manners, husnul khuluq, in the ahadith are uncountable. Uncountable. And if we look at society today, we see a great moral decline. Those things which were considered bad 50 years ago are normal today. Normal today. The reason is this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent Rasuls to this world to teach us right from wrong. When you go away from those messengers and the message that Allah has sent down, and we rely on intellect only, you can justify anything to be correct. I hope everyone understands this point. What I'm trying to say here is that today the moral decline is because of leaving the ways of the Rasul. As long as we hold to the ways of the Rasul, then this moral decline won't happen. And I'll give you an example. We see today, homosexuality, there's nothing wrong with it. Even to speak bad about it is taboo. You should not speak bad about this thing. Why? 50, 60 years ago, you would be made fun of. But now, you're politically incorrect to speak about this thing. Why? Because rationally, they have a desire and you have a desire. So rationally, you cannot justify yours and leave their action unjustified. If we stick to rational only, intellect. But we, along with those Christians who abide by their book, they say no. Forget what your intellect tells you. Now we turn to revelation. We turn to what the Rasul brought. And that's haram, forbidden. So these adab will bring us, they preserve our society. These adab that we are reading about and will read about, a person calls his father by his first name. Hey Joe, how are you today? Now, we would say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. No, that's his name. What's wrong with calling him by his name? It's his name. Is he wrong? No, it is his name. Is he using a bad term? No. So what is wrong with this thing? It's just against adab. It's just against adab. Where do we learn the adab? We'll learn here. Rasulullah ﷺ said, do not call your parents by their name. But now people are going against that. The Quran says that we should not cause any harm to our parents. When we act upon the adab of Rasul, we'll never cross the boundary with our parents. But when we leave the adab, now you'll be in jeopardy of going against the order of the Quran. Last point before we start the book I would like to emphasize is the word adib or udaba in Arabic is the form of the word, it's the ism fa'il as we call in Arabic. It's the form of the doer of this action. So adab is the action. The one doing it is called adib or udaba, the plural. Do you know this word actually also means educated? It means well-mannered, but it also means educated. What does this tell us? Sufyan, what does this tell us? The connection between manners and education. Does anyone have an inkling that this Arabic language is saying the same word for manners is the same word for a highly educated person?
If you're highly educated, people will think of you as a good-mannered person.
I would have worded it the other way. I think we should have worded it the other way. That as you learn more knowledge, your manners should become more rarefied and better. You should have better akhlaq. That as we learn more, you gain more degrees, you gain more education, now your manners should be better. There's a direct connection. There's a direct connection. My question today is, we live in a society, the rate of literacy in America, according to CIA statistics, is around 98% a few years ago. Obviously statistics change according to different organizations. But 98% of the people here can read and are literate. If you are familiar with history, this is unheard of before, that so many people would be able to read. My question to you is, why has the manners dropped so much? Even though everyone's reading, everyone can read, everyone's educated, everyone has high school diploma, everyone has a degree of high status, but the white collar crimes are very high. Not the blue collar, the white collar crimes are very high. The next question, he's on a roll, maybe he can tell us. Despite the fact that the education is so high, why are the morals so low today? MashaAllah. There's no way you're going to get this one.
Yeah, I can't get
Good try.
Can I take a guess?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
بسرعة جلدي say.
Take it. I think that people now have different perspective. Different things. So now they're changing their viewpoint based on, and so people actually change their viewpoint based on their friends. But if it was like 60, 50 years more earlier,
yeah,
it'll be like it'll be.
That's all true, but you didn't answer the question. It's all true. We just stated that. Very good. Let me tell you why. The first ayah to be revealed to the Rasul ﷺ was what? Yusuf. What was the first ayah? Come on. Sunday school starts, registration tomorrow. Sunday. The first ayah is, Sufyan, Iqra. Our nation is a nation of learned people. From the first day, the first revelation was read. Imagine. The word for non-Arabs is Ajami. You know what Ajami means? He can't speak. The Arab was known for his eloquence, his speech. The first ayah revealed is read. What does this tell us? That our whole nation is going to start off with education. Learn. But it doesn't stop there. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Don't read for the degree. Don't read for money. Read for Allah. So now when you read anything and you read in mind that I'm learning for the sake of Allah, now this education will bring adab inside of you. I was speaking to Hamza. I don't see him here. He's here? No, the other Hamza. He comes to Maktab. طيب. I was explaining to him that he said his favorite topic is science. I said, Alhamdulillah. That class should be a class of tasbih. That class you should be saying Subhanallah the whole time. As you read how the human body works, as you read how the earth works, as you read these things and you learn more, you should be saying Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Look at the creation of Allah. But unfortunately, the society today, from the first grade, they word the textbooks in a way where it says, the ice then changes itself into water. The water then changes itself into air. What have they done? They say Iqra. They don't say Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. They took Allah out of the equation. I hope this is all coming in. When they're teaching from first grade, the textbook says that the ice changes itself. But the ice doesn't change itself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the power in the ice to do that. So now, when you teach a child for 10 years that the ice changes itself, the fire burns this thing. When he reads Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam's story, when he was thrown in fire, and Allah said, Kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim, he says, how did that happen? For 10 years he was reading fire burns. For 10 years he's reading fire burns. So now you're telling me that he was thrown in fire and he wasn't burned? And I bet you there's a lot of us that said, well, how did that happen? How did that happen? Okay, Allah said it, I believe it, but something kuch to hai. No, when we learn that from the beginning everything is done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the effect of burning is only through the ta'thir of Allah, then there's no ishkal, there's no objection in the heart. So the reading and studying that we do in school, if we do it, اقرأ بسم ربك الذي خلق, if we read for the sake of Allah, then the things we learn will affect our morality. Because we're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not doing it for any worldly benefit. What are the benefits of this adab? The primary benefit of these adab are what we spoke about before. من تهاون بالآداب حرم عوقب بحرمان السنن. That whoever is deprived of the adab, he will be deprived of the sunan. This is the primary benefit, that you protect your deen. Remember this. If you put an emphasis that I will come for takbir ula, I will make takbir ula, you're not going to miss a salah in jama'ah. The most you'll do is you'll come second rak'ah. But once you give up takbir ula, you end up praying at home. Slowly. When we give up the adab, the sunnah go away. And then once you start praying at home, we all know what happens next. Maghrib, oh, Isha ki waqt ho gaya. Now it's time for Isha. Oh, I didn't pray Maghrib. If you had put emphasis on takbir ula, I guarantee you never would have missed your Maghrib. Far from missing Maghrib. I'm trying to give the practical way we apply these adab. The second benefit of these adab, number two. Number one is it protects your sunan, and the sunnahs protect your fard. Number two is these adab, as we see here in the West and throughout the world, they bring general benefit to people. That thank you, politeness, all of these things, all these concepts. That we see the society around us is very organized. Very organized. Everyone's behaving very nicely. I want to start the book, but I want to bring everyone's attention to something. But Rashid Sab took some of my time, so al-aynu bil-ayn.
I would say keep going for next 15 minutes.
No. People have to go, so we will keep it short. But we have to point out something here. If you remember in the beginning, I told you that these adab come from khuluq. Khuluq is inside you. So if there's no khuluq, you may be outwardly doing adab, but there's no basis inside of it. You don't have good khuluq. You're not doing it for the right reason. You're doing it because that's what you have to do. What happens in our society is everyone behaves. Everyone behaves. But the moment the authority disappears, there's haywire. Look through the history. About 7 or 8 years ago, there was a mass blackout, New York City. What happened immediately? Looting, this thing, robbing, this thing. Because there's no police, there's no cameras, now our adab is gone. Because the adab wasn't from khuluq. It was just outward adab. And the funny thing is, our countries, back home, people have so good khuluq, they don't need the person watching them all day. Without the system, they're still living in such peace. With our system, if it wasn't here, it'd be chaos. Guaranteed. Why? Because the khuluq is not there. True adab comes from khuluq. So do not be fooled when you see people are very polite and they smile every time. No, this is because you're buying something from them. This is because the boss said you have to smile at every person. It's not when we smile at someone because Allah loves this smile, because it's sunnah to smile, because I get ajr for this smile that I'm giving. They're smiling because you're paying me. Once the benefit from you is gone, you'll see how they change. True manners comes from inside. And that's what the Rasul ﷺ is going to teach us. So now, without further ado, if I don't start the book, then I'll be announcing again that next week we'll be starting the book. So inshallah, and I was hoping that we get some tables made so everyone could look at the book also and have an idea what we're looking at, what we're reading. When you can see the book in front of you, you can pay attention more, you can focus on the words which are being said, and you won't like fall asleep, as you know it happens, some brothers are falling asleep. So it'll keep you awake, One of the scholars said, al-ilmu sayd, al-ilmu sayd, that ilm is a prey, something you try to get. Well, kitab, writing, qayduhu. Writing is how you capture knowledge. So yeah, you say, I'll listen to the lecture later on, but when you write it, it becomes firm in your memory. It sits because you wrote it down. And then you can go over it later. You don't have to sit there and listen to the whole lecture again. So inshallah, we'll start the book, and we have plenty of books around. And if anyone wants to grab a book really quick, they can. There's a few of them. We're going to start. There's some over there, I think.
I would gently ask you to ask everyone here to bring notebook.
Yeah, everyone should bring a notebook and take notes. The way I do the dars is so that it's not just, jazbati as we say in Urdu language, or it's not something which is just emotional that you leave with just high iman, I feel great, walk out and you forgot everything. We should learn things. The first thing was iqra, read. Reading should bring education. We should be learning things. We should be learning more and more, progressing in our ilm. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, before we start any books.
You can find this book online as well.
Yes, you can find this book online. It should only cost around $20.
Oh, so you can find it for free.
Oh, the PDF. Yeah, you can get the PDF. That's even better. The website is kalamullah.com. Go in the book section and you find this book, ADAB-UL-MUFRAD. So if everyone could repeat after me, Rabbi Yassir ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين. I'll translate it after. Rabbi Yassir ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين. Rabbi Yassir ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The meaning of what we just read was, oh Allah, make it easy for us and do not make it hard for us, and let us complete it with khair, with good. So before we start that, the book we will start. Kitab al-ADAB-UL-MUFRAD, Chapter 1. The word for chapter, قول الله تعالى ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا. Imam Bukhari's style is that he brings a chapter. The word for chapter is bab. Bab means door. But obviously the door opens to something. Likewise, the chapter opens to something. So, Imam Bukhari's style is this. This is something you might want to write down. Whatever he's trying to prove, his claim is in his bab. The title of the bab is his claim. The title of the bab, the page is 43. I'm sorry, the page is page 43. So again, listen closely everyone. The bab is the claim of Imam Bukhari. Meaning he's trying to prove something. Everything he brings in that chapter is his proof. Okay? Do we all understand that? No. Okay, let me explain again with a better example. The example I'll have to use will not be from this book. It would be, but it would come later on. Basically, if there's something like kissing the hand of someone out of respect, so Imam Bukhari will bring the bab name that permissibility of kissing the hand of someone. That will be the chapter's name. Now he has to prove that. How will he prove it? With the hadith that come after. So the hadith are his justification for his claim, and his claim is in the chapter name. Do we understand now? Okay. So there's a saying in Arabic that fiqh al-Bukhari, that the fiqh of Imam Bukhari fi tarajumihi, that the opinion of Imam Bukhari regarding fiqh is in the tarajim and is in the chapters of his. So if you want to know what Imam Bukhari's opinion is on an issue, you open Imam Bukhari's book and he'll say bab fi rafi yadayn, thubut rafi yadayn, for example, that he's saying that doing rafi yadayn is sunnah, you should do that. Now he's going to bring all the hadith to prove that that thing is right. Do we understand? Now he's starting this book, this chapter with a Quran ayah. He's starting this chapter with the Quran ayah. Let's look at this ayah. The ayah is وَوَسَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانِ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا. The title is that we have enjoined on mankind. Wasayna literally means when you bequeath something. Wasiyat karna in Urdu. Bequeath in English. When you say that when I die, let this thing happen. Not a will. A will will be different. Okay? So وَوَسَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانِ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا. We have enjoined on his parents, mankind to be kind to his parents. Now we need the rest of this ayah to understand what Imam Bukhari is saying. That's not the whole ayah. This ayah is in Surah Ankabut, and the rest of it is وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. Let me translate this. This is very important. One thing we have to understand. These men were geniuses. Imam Bukhari, genius. They don't write anything without a reason. There's a reason for everything. And once you see this, you're going to be amazed. The ayah is, we have enjoined upon mankind kindness to his parents. The rest of the verse continues, وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ. If they force you, أَن تُشْرِكَ بِي, to commit shirk, فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. So do not obey them. إِلَيَّ مَرْجِعُكُمْ. You will return to me. So now, what is he saying? I told you there's three types of adab. Ma'allah, ma'arasul, ma'al makhluk, the creation. Imam Bukhari here is saying that in the beginning of this book of adab, the first thing I want you to know is that لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. There is no obedience to the creation when it comes to disobeying Allah. Right from the beginning, he's telling you, I'm starting this book with how you should deal with the creation. And the first ayah he brings, let me tell you the sha'n and nuzul of this ayah. This ayah was revealed, write this down, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas. This ayah was revealed about Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas. What does this tell us? You cannot understand Quran without seerah. You cannot understand Quran without the background. What happened very quickly with Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas? He was around 14 years old when he accepted Islam. His mother was a non-Muslim. When she found out he became Muslim, and he says he was the third one to become Muslim. That's according to his knowledge. You may say, oh, I know, wait, that person was the third person. Well, people were hiding their Islam. So maybe he didn't know. So according to him, he thought he was the third. So he's the third one to accept Islam. He's 14 years old. His mother finds out. First trick she does. She says to him, your religion teaches you to obey your parents, right? Become a mushrik. Give up this religion. Oh wait, what am I going to do? This ayah is revealed. If you look at it, it's not logical anyway. She's saying that your religion tells you to do this, to obey me, so now give up your religion. He didn't know what to do. This ayah was revealed on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The other sha'n in nuzul, the other situation was she said to him, Wallahi, I will not eat or drink until you give up in this religion. Now, it wasn't our time when people don't care about their parents and they send them to old age homes. No. This wasn't that time. This was a totally different time period, where people even respected a person because he was the friend of my father. That's what the time they lived in. We live in a time where he's too old, we'll send him to the nursing home. But you have a big house. No, but you know. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So, what did he say? His mother is not going to eat. 1 day passes. 2 days pass. On the third day, he said to his mother, Mom, if you had 100 lives, and each one of them went one by one, I won't give up this religion. She said, okay, bring some food. What am I doing? Bring the food, it's time to eat. And she started eating. What does this ayah teach us right from the beginning? That this book will teach us how to be with the creation, but never worry about your situation with the creation when it comes to disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to go to school, but what about Jum'ah? Wait, I have to go to school. True, but you have to pray Jum'ah. What do? Pray Jum'ah in school. There's over 50 Muslims in school. Have you ever asked them? No, no one asked them. Find a way out. Find a way. But there is la ta'ata li makhluq. There is no obedience to the creation fi ma'siyatil khaliq. Once the sin comes into place, there's no obedience to the creation. The first hadith that Imam Bukhari narrates, he says, حدثنا أبو الوليد قال حدثنا شعبة قال الوليد بن عيزار أخبرني قال سمعت أبا عمرو وللشيباني يقول حدثنا صاحب هذه الدار وأومأ بيده إلى دار عبد الله. Let me translate this. All of this is very important. This is the chain of narrators. Imam Bukhari says, Abu Walid narrated and said that Shu'bah told us and said, Al-Walid ibn Uzayra akhbarani, Walid ibn Uzayra told me, قال, he said, I heard Aba Amr al-Shaybani. By the way, Aba Amr, this person was called a Mukhdarim. He saw the time of Jahiliyyah and Islam. He lived to about 120 years old. يقول حدثنا, he said that the person who owns this house told me. Now, the house was owned by Ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah. It says here, وَأَوْمَأَ بِيَدِهِ إِلَى دَارِ Abdullah. He pointed to the house of Jazakallah khair. He pointed to the house of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So do we get the situation? Very simple. A tabi'i says that he was telling his student a hadith, and he pointed to the house and he said, the person that lived in this house told me, and here comes the hadith. Do we understand? Very simple. قال سألت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. I asked the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, أي العمل أحب إلى الله عز وجل. He said, I asked the Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم, which action is most loved by Allah? What does this tell us? This tells us that the minds of the Sahaba were not, is this fard? Is this sunnah? Is this wajib? Do I have to really do that? They wanted to know what was afdal. What was the best thing? Don't tell me the minimum. Tell me the best thing I can do. Our minds are different today. The next thing, he goes, all Rasulullah ﷺ said, as-salatu ala waqtiha, qultu thumma ayyun. Then I said to him, what's after that? قال thumma birrul walidain. Qultu thumma ayyun. I said to him, what's after that? He said, thumma al-jihadu fi sabilillah. قال حدثنا bihinna. That he told me this. وَلَوْ اسْتَزِدْتُهُ لَزَادَنِي. He says, Ibn Mas'ud says, if I asked him to tell me more, he would have told me more. He would have told me more. So, what do we learn from this hadith? The first thing we learn is that you have to look at everything closely. The first thing we learn, Ibn Hajar narrates, that to point to something which both people can see is enough in a transaction between two people. Example, I'll sell you this camera. You can see it, I can see it, and I point to it. I didn't name it, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything about the camera, its dimensions, nothing. Didn't write it down. That's totally fine. Ibn Hajar tells us, based on this hadith. How did he prove that? Where does that come in this hadith? You got to know this one.
In the middle. That's you.
Does anyone? Where did I get the point that I can sell you this camera by pointing at it, and by you seeing it? Where did I get that from this hadith?
The person who lived in that house.
Yes, exactly. وَأَوْمَأَ, it says in Arabic, وَأَوْمَأَ بِيَدِهِ, he pointed to the house. Hadith is very intricate matter. He's saying the one who lived in this house told me this hadith. He didn't say the name. I can see the house, he can see the house, he pointed to it. This proves that Ibn Mas'ud and his tabi'i, it was allowed for this type of thing to happen. Based on this, they make many rulings just based on this thing. We don't get it. When we look at the hadith, we just look at the words. We just look at the matan, the main part. When they look at it, they look at the entire thing. What small thing can I derive from this thing? What is there? So the first thing that Rasulullah ﷺ says, the next thing we need to point out, we need to stop, it's getting late, inshallah. We'll stop here, we'll continue from this hadith. There's a lot more to talk about in this one hadith. Inshallah, we will finish this hadith next week. We won't stay the whole time, and we'll start speeding up a little bit to actually try to finish as much of the book as possible. But where we need to digress and go into it, we'll go into it. But inshallah, from next week we'll start this hadith from Ayyul amali ahabbu ilallahi azza wa jal, that which action is loved most by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The question comes up. Many people ask this question, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave many different answers. Why did that happen? And we'll discuss that next week, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to bring these adab in our life as we read them, and bring the husnul khuluq inside of our hearts. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Is there any quick questions? The dua after salah, inshallah? After salah? Dua dubur salah maqbool, inshallah. Salah, dua after salah is maqbool. Questions, inshallah. Yes.
How much is the camera?
I don't know. If he brings it next week, we'll sell it for sure.
Audio record. It's audio record.
What's the body now?
Just joking. Any questions?
Yes, they have a question for their sister.
Yes, I'm listening.
Any question?
Bring it, bring.
Yeah.
Bring.
No question.
The question is there good khuluq and is there bad khuluq? Yes, very clearly. The bad khuluq is what we see around us today, where the manners have totally left, and also good khuluq is what we will be learning. That is good khuluq, yes. Actually, the fact that there is good tells you that there is bad. What do I mean by that? You only know what light is because you've experienced what darkness is. بِالتَّضَادِ تَتَعَارَفُ الْأَشْيَاءِ. When there's opposites, that's how you recognize what something is. So whenever we say something is good, that automatically means there must be the opposite of that. That's the whole point of this.
What's the website on which you can get the book?
The website for the books, the brother will tell us again. Kalamullah.com. You can get the spelling from him later. Go.
Wait, 1 second.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.